Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining with us tonight. Um, I can't really imagine being inside an average cell in Nevada. I just learned that they're 7 by 9 feet, or roughly 60 square feet. But our guest tonight, Roger Workman, spent 35 years in such an environment, and he's going to be telling us a little bit about how he got through that. Uh, Cultural anthropologists who study this stuff say that the biggest obstacle, or one of the biggest obstacles to rehabilitation, is a thing called prison culture. That is where inmates must prove to each other that they belong to the prison system and to the unwritten rules, the values, the behaviors that are expected of inmates. It's like things like not snitching on other inmates and staying within your tribe or your ethnic race, hating who you're supposed to hate. Inmates that try to live above or beyond prison culture face a harder and more dangerous road than those who accept it. So we are learning that it truly takes a team of angels, to do this work. It takes really an unflagging commitment and spiritual backbone, I'll call it, God's love for sure, and the willingness to walk with the inmate until they're released and way beyond. So, along with Roger tonight, we have David Van Winkle. I'm sure you're there, David. Roger is volunteer chaplain. And we have Janine Lambert, who works with Roger as a Christian Science practitioner. And I'm hoping that Michelle Gervais will be here tonight. And she worked with the Principal Foundation to help Roger get a phone and other basic needs.
I'm
Oh,
here.
okay, good, very
Yeah.
good. Oh, I forgot to say this. If David, Janine, or Michelle see that maybe that I like jumped over something or missed something, then you say something to me, okay? So so that we don't go past it. So let's just start. And hello, Roger.
Hello.
Good to see you. Tell us a little bit about your background and what was your family life like, and also, did your family attend a church?
Yes, they raised me up in the church and everything, and kept me going to church every week, and just got caught up with the wrong people in the trailer park I was living in. Wound up being charged with something that put me in prison, and went through that for about 5, 6 years, and then thought I was going to make a parole after 6 or 7 years, and they said, no, sorry, laws have changed, and now you have to pass a psych panel and a parole board. The psych panel says no, the parole board says no.
Really?
Oh, yeah, so they passed a new law saying that I had to do that, and there weren't my chances there for that one.
Was your family like a tight-knit group?
Well, my family and everything was just me and my mom, and that was it.
Okay. Did you have any kind of brushes with the law when you were like a younger person? Did you ever think that, like maybe as a young person, you might do something that would actually cost you 35 years in prison? I'm not, kids don't think those things, but were you feel like maybe there was things in your life that that might be problems?
Well, I felt well, of course, when I was younger and stuff, I was just like out of control, didn't really care about anything. I mean, I just, went to church and tried to work and try to do things the right way. And no matter how much I tried to do right, it seemed like it was the wrong thing. So I did. And I got quite a few buses for the law when I was younger and stuff, for burglaries and preserve stolen cars and running away from home, placed in group homes and all kinds of other programs and stuff. And they tried to straighten me out, but it's just when you're by yourself, you're put into how you say, into a cage of pit bulls and try to survive.
you know, what do you remember about entering prison?
I
I
know
mean,
when
that had
I
to be a little terrifying. I can imagine.
yeah, when I first got in the prison system, I mean, I was stabbed the first day when I first got in,
Day
and
one.
yeah,
Oh,
the very first day I was stabbed in the back
hmm,
and didn't make pull through that one, but
wow.
I mean, I was scared and stupid guy. After that, one guy pulled me aside and he said, "Look, see, I'm gonna take you under my wing and help you out. Uh, ain't nobody gonna mess with you no more. Don't worry about it. You know, as long as you let me take care of the problems, and I'll take care of it from there."
Hmm,
And he got out thanks to me helping him get out because the parole board wasn't going to let him out because the psych panel wasn't passing him and everything else. And I went to a psychologist and I explained to him, look, the man's got his daughter out there, his family, and everybody out there to help him. He ain't never going to come back to this prison system ever again and or whatever. And for some reason, the psych panel won't pass him. And so the psychologist told me, he says, look, hold on, I'll do what I can and see what I can help him out with everything. Because, he had been talking, my friend had been talking with a psychologist quite a bit and doing programming and
hmm,
stop programming and everything with him. And he says, I see a change in him. He said, I
hmm,
don't know why the psych panel didn't see it,
hmm,
but now that you brought that to light, that he has a daughter out there who hasn't seen him since she was like 8 months or about 8 months old. And
hmm,
she grew up and she wanted to see him and wanted to have him out. And I made a
hmm,
promise to him and to her both. I said, I'll do what I can to get him out. And he's been
hmm.
out for 8 years now.
Thank
And
you. Mhm.
he's been out for 8 years and doing very well.
Well, that's wonderful.
And Ricky kept telling me, he said, just sit back, believe that God is going to set you free.
Hmm,
I said, well, I will. And I sat back and I just started believing and started reading the Christian Science when I moved in with Donald George. I don't know if anybody knows who he was.
I do. Yeah.
And I moved in with Donald George, and Donald George said, look, Christian Science can help you and be able to help you get out and everything and show you what needs to be done and what programs to do and who to talk to and everything. And maybe they'll listen.
Hmm,
And of course, at first I was kind of a skeptic with him. I said, no, Don, ain't nobody gonna do nothing. Man, they can't help me. If I can't pass the psych panel and pass the parole board, then how can they help me?
hmm,
And he said, just all you gotta do is trust, believe, and believe that God will bring you home.
hmm. And
And
what happened?
here I am,
Here you
and
are. Though I did read where you said that you had gotten to a pretty dark place in prison. Um, what happened? I mean, what was that about? Because
well,
obviously
I got
that came before. That I just want to understand how that worked. Something happened before you actually found Christian Science.
before I had been doing Bible studies and everything and stuff in the prison system while I was in Crossroads and a couple other ones,
Hmm, hmm,
and I kept pushing with them and kept reading them and studying and hearing all the criticism from everybody around me, saying, what the heck, you ain't why are you studying God and this now? Why did you wait till you come to prison to do it?" I told them, I said, I've been studying the Bible ever since before I came to prison. And they called me a liar and everything else and said, yeah, shut up. We're done with you. You don't want to, you obviously don't know what you're talking about.
hmm.
Uh, I just kept pushing and everything. So after a while, before I moved with Don, I just got to a point where, okay, fine. If God's going to bring me home, He's going to bring me home. If not, I lost my mom from
Mm,
cancer in prison, and there went my biggest hope, for getting out and everything. And I just basically gave up after that.
well,
Until I moved in with Don, that's when Don said, "Look, talk to Christian Science and see if they can help you."
yeah.
And then we got to Chaplain Dave, and as I wrote him a nice long letter about my past and everything that I'd done, everything I went through, and he started contacting me back and sent me sentinels and the Bible studies and everything back and forth. And he told me, he
Mm.
said, feel free to mark them up and fold them up and send them back to me.
What were some of the ideas in Christian Science that might have challenged you? I know that I
Well,
was certainly challenged. I had to read page 1 of Science and Health 15 times before it
yeah,
made even a little sense.
right. And I mean, I read it through with Donald George and I. We both sat down and he showed me what parts of those books to read and everything. And he said, read it, study it, believe it, and
Mm,
trust it.
mm,
And he says, you're not going to get it on the first couple times you go through it. So I read it the first time. I was like, okay, that was an interesting thing. And he said, well, what'd you get out of it? I said, "Yeah, a little bit, but not much." And
mm,
so he said, no, go back and do it again. He said, the
really?
second time, some stuff will start staying with you. And so a little bit more stayed with me and started kicking in. And so the third time, Donald George was coming up for his parole. And I seen all the good that you guys were doing for him and all the resources and everything and all that. And I told Donald George, I said, if you make your parole, that'll show me right then that I've got a chance.
Mm,
And sure enough, he made his parole, new clothes and everything, and got him out.
mm,
And I was like,
mm,
okay, that's a sign from God right there. It's telling me, you know what? Keep going. Don't
yeah,
stop now.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So, Chaplain Dave, how
Yes,
did it go with him? What was your meeting like when you first met with Roger? How did that go?
right. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yeah, all I
Good.
can see
I just
is the phone.
I
can't see you, but I can
I'm
hear
on
you.
I'm on the phone and I'll just tell you why. Of all things, my server said, "Oh, we're doing some fiber maintenance at
Mm,
between 6 and 8." I said, "Well, how perfect is that?"
yeah,
So I'm on the phone, not visible, but glad to be here, and thank you for setting up this interview and this time with Roger to celebrate his achievements over the past year.
yeah. But how did it go when
Um,
you were first working with Roger, though? Was he a tough
well,
case?
this is the scene that I want to the give everybody that
Mm.
I received this handwritten letter from Roger, and Roger, I'll tell you, he wasn't writing that well because he was physically impaired, if I may say so, Roger. It's kind of like your arm and your hands were numb, and something you
Yeah,
have to do with your spine and things like that. So you were physically impaired, and so the writing to me was even hard to read.
Hmm.
I
yeah,
received it at the church that I'm a member of, and I'm also the librarian at the reading room. So I received the mail, got the letter, read it, and what was evident there was that it was from the heart.
Yeah.
yeah,
And he was asking for just help H-E-L-P, help. And the feeling that I got, Roger, was that you were in a dark place, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, I really was.
This is this is about 5 years ago. So we've worked together I took it up as a chaplain, and we worked together in correspondence for about 3+ years. And then he was coming up for parole. I think that was a part of the demonstration that opened up for him through our work together.
How did you guys help prepare him for parole, though? For the parole hearing?
Well, you know, I did refer you to the prep program, Roger. Remember that?
Yep, and I went through the prep program and answered questions and did their little tests and their little readings and everything, and sent that back to them. And I even got accepted into the program in California. But the reason I came here was because of my friend that I had helped get out was here. And he told me, look, you get here, he said, I'll make your life so easy so you won't have to worry about nothing. And I'll let you know what you need to do now that you're here. And now that I am here, he's helped me out with basically every little step all the way through my accomplishments and everything I've been doing.
Speaking of accomplishments, what were those accomplishments? Just so we know.
Well, one is to get my driver's license, get my Social Security going and everything, and to get a vehicle now, and to get my insurance on my car, my license plates on my car and everything, and the programming at Evergreen Counseling and all that, which is what I'm doing now. And Hope for Prisoners, I went through that and graduated out of Hope for Prisoners with top 10 in the class.
Yeah, can I come in here again, David, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. No.
And I wanted to follow up that little letter that I got in our correspondence and getting ready for just make the leap. Just from that moment that I received that letter in that dark place that he was in mentally and physically 5 years ago. Last week, he gave me a call from a scenic lake about 20 miles out of town in his new used car that he fixed up. And it was from there he took some time off from his job, where he is the manager and caretaker of the parolee housing unit. That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah,
and then we read the lesson together. And so that go from that one dark moment to that place 5 years later, I call that a demonstration.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. Roger, what do you think it is in your practice that has enabled you to move so quickly? Because I'll tell you this, we interview a number of people, but we also talk to a lot of people. Not everybody has the same speed that you seem to have. And as a result, the slower people tend to go, that usually there are some issues with them along the way. Just not believing in themselves, if you will. But you seem to have something that is pretty remarkable. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I'd say that I'm being goal oriented and being able to accomplish everything that I'm trying to do now. Because I realize that what happens if I don't, I know where I'm gonna wind up at if I don't do the right things. And when I was younger, I was taught, to do things. When someone says do something, do it.
Yeah, well, my parents used to say it, and I never did anything.
That's true. Some don't. Some choose to say, you know what, Mom, I know what's right and I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it my
Uh,
way.
yeah,
And our way is not always the right way.
yeah.
But
I,
yeah, I did make quite a few mistakes and stuff when I was younger and stuff, and got frustrated a few times and just walked away and just went off, got in trouble, and
mm,
wound up in prison.
well, no, look at you.
And I'm out, and I'm going to stay that way.
Yeah. How did you originally meet your angel team? And what was your impression of them? I saw that we saw the photo because that's the one we have on then when we send out the invitation, there's a picture of you standing there with a backpack, which is pretty cool. But what was that like? What was that first day and meeting the angel team? What was that like?
Well, that was me at the parole and probation office when I first got off the bus and met Dave, Greg Davis and stuff,
Mhm.
and we went from there.
No. So you look pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Greg Davis was our angel team man on the ground. He's the one that lived in Clark County and was a member of the Las Vegas Christian Science Church. And we set it up embrace fully often. An angel team will meet and greet and provide that backpack with essentials. And in this case, we had some gift cards from the Principal Foundation as well. I just want to say that I'll tell you how important that is, and you can back me up on this, Roger. When he got off that bus after 35 years of incarceration, and it's important to point out here, I think, that when you're institutionalized for 35 years, that is a hard thing to bust out of that. And it's said that if you're in an institution for 10 years, then you're institutionalized. 35 years and you're set out in society, and you got about $20-$30 in your pocket, and the parole officer gave him a place to stay for 28 days. That was it. What are your chances?
Not very much.
Not too good. What are the chances with the best of intentions that you have to stay out? What are your chances? So, that's where it's important when Greg Davis stepped up. We set this up, where most of us are long distance on the angel team, but Greg was right there. Met him, gave him the backpack, and he had a couple of gift cards worth $500 from the Principal Foundation. So that was good just to have that relationship established, right, Roger? To have someone greet you there, that was important, right?
Yep, sure was.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the first meeting there, and then Principal Foundation. Roger was able to find a place of residence after his 28 days at a parolee housing complex, and the Principal Foundation set him up with a couple of months rent there until he got on his own 2 feet.
Well, speaking of the Principal Foundation, we have Michelle here. Michelle, can you just jump in and talk a little bit about what you guys heard from Roger that just sort of said, okay, let's work with this guy, and what was your impression?
Sure. We don't give rent most of the time, so it was something unique. Not, it was something special, I guess. The need was evident, and Roger's humility. I think he was very humble. He's very grateful for his angel team. He was really willing to work through church. And to your credit, Roger, and as we've all seen, the more you ground yourself in that moral transformation on the inside, mean, it's so important because it's hard and tempting when you get out. I think you've grown thanks to David staying with you all this time and your work and now Janine and others, you are growing even more spiritually on the outside, which is really a testament because it's so tempting, I'm sure, when you get out to just find an easier way, and you just stayed true. And so that was evident to us. You're just desire to do good and be good, and you were really helping others too. There was the woman you met at the bus stop, who then had the car. I mean, you just were willing to be of service along the way and seek to reconnect with your dad and you just and we just heard genuine seeking and striving.
No, that's sweet. One of the things, David, you didn't mention, and that is Roger fixes bicycles and has a little, to me, it's like a little ministry, but you're fixing bicycles, and what do you do with the bicycle?
Well, I took one of them up to the church and donated it to the church so that some little kid could have one.
I think I love that. I think that is the neatest thing. Do you have plans to be doing that more?
Well, I plan on it. I've got 2 more bikes here that I'm putting together now, and Greg Davis gave me one, actually a couple of them, and one of them I fixed up for a little girl in here in the housing complex here, who didn't have a bike, and her parents said, "Look, we can't afford to get her one, and she might grow into it, but it would be appreciative if you could do something to fix it up for her." And so I took Greg Davis's girl's bike that he gave me, and I fixed it up and put new tires on it, new brakes and everything, and new chain on it, and fixed it up for her, and even put little training wheels on the side of it so she could actually ride it.
I love it. Are you paying for the parts?
Basically just the families and stuff, like the mother here, she paid for all the parts and whatnot for that bike for her daughter, so she got everything that she needed. And she gave me all the ideas of what, if you get her this, if we get her this, can you put it on the bike for her so she can ride it?
Well, you heard some.
Now, let me say that Roger has not just a skill, but a gift for mechanics, and that goes back to his boyhood. And there's a story about that, but it comes natural to him. I had an issue with my truck, and I lived 650 miles away from where he lives. He said, "Describe it to me," and he gave me a perfect analysis of it over the phone.
Yeah.
So I was able to get it fixed. He went out. He has, during his time, not just the bikes. I think he fixed up 6 or 7 bikes, but also several cars for others, including that woman that you're talking about that you met at the bus stop. And
right.
And then that was the car that he was able to finally purchase from her just 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we got a car now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say? Right. Anyways, hey, I'm sorry for. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Roger. Sorry.
I'm sorry for getting in the middle of it, but okay. She turned around, she was the one at the bus stop, and she drove me around town and stuff. And after I got my learner's permit and everything, and she let me drive, and she started, teaching me the rules of the road and everything, and what to do, what to expect, how to parallel park, and how to park in a parking spot and everything. And she says to me, she said, "This car someday might be yours if something happens to me." And I said, "Well, God's willing, nothing happens to you and everything, you'll be all right." And finally, one time, just a couple weeks ago, she called me up and she told me, she says, "I may be selling my car." And I said, "Yeah, what do you mean you're gonna be selling your car? Well, you need that to go places and everything." She said, "Oh,
Hmm.
don't worry about me. I'll take a bus." And I said, "No, no, no, no."
Hmm.
And she says, "No, I've got dental things that need to be done." She said, "I got medical things that need to be done." And that snapped in my brain right then. It's like, okay, if I get the money on you, I'll go ahead and do that for you. And I'll try and see how much you want for it. And she told me what she wanted for it. And I'm like, well, we'll see if my social security comes in and I'll go ahead and do it.
Hmm.
And I wound up purchasing the car.
Yeah.
Really nice, really nice.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask
That,
you, how did you meet Janine, your practitioner? How did that come about?
Um, David Van Winkle told me about her and everything and told me that maybe she would be a better fit than Art Collier was. And I was like, yeah, but Art Collier is more of a pushy kind of person, kind of like, if you don't know what I'm talking about by now, you ain't never going to, you got to do this and I'm done and walk away. And I'm like, okay, that's not working.
Hmm.
So I told David Van Winkle about it and he recommended Linda Vara. And I started talking with Linda and everything was going good. And he came back one week and told me, he says, how about if I think I found somebody that might be a little better than Linda, who might be more understanding and a little more helpful. And I said, well, I don't want to brush Linda off like that. And he goes, no, you wouldn't be doing that. You'll still be able to see her and everything and talk to her and everything if you have a problem. She's there at the church. I said, okay. And so then he introduced me to Jane, said, told her about me, and she said, more than willing to talk to me. And we've been together ever since.
Janine, what's your thoughts of how's it going with him?
Well, Roger is very receptive to the truth. Right from the start, we just, started in with what we can do to look at that's the good that's going on in his experience. And we started out with a gratitude list. We're trying to magnify the good that's in his experience. And he began to see how that was working. And just doors opening and recognizing that was all God working in his experience. And he has just sky's the limit, right, Roger?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good teaming.
And as
Yeah.
they say, there's nothing that God can't do.
That's right, all things
Yeah.
are God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing that, and also recognizing the present good. I mean, he has this wonderful talent for fixing things.
Yeah.
And I even teased him at one point that he needed to his bicycle business needs to be called Roger's Wheels Work.
that's good.
Yeah, they do work. I mean, I still keep my mind focused on things and
Yeah.
keep moving ahead, as they say.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David, if you had something to say.
Oh, I think the thing that you were talking about, the list of achievements here.
Yeah.
My feeling is that Roger had that what Janine was talking about. He was so very receptive, and what happened between, I think when we're talking about not just Roger, but working with others in Embrace Fully. I think a couple of things I want to say are really pivotably important to all angel teams. And one is to have at least one person that is the go-to person, the mentor, the coach,
Yeah.
that has a strong, consistent relationship. And the quality that I as a chaplain bring to my chaplaincy, I call it the number one tenet of chaplaincy. And that is to see those you work with the way God sees them. That
Blameless
certainly
and
is how. What did you say, brother?
blameless and untouched.
Yes, sir. There you go. That's what we would always say. And when you see someone that way, and I have no trouble doing that. And we do that in Christian Science. We see those that we work with the way God sees them, blameless and untouched. Then what happens from there is you develop a trusted relationship,
Right.
where you can have some honest spiritual inquiry goes on between the two of you. As I often say in my own chaplaincy services there in the prison, I say, in God's eyes, we are equal. We all have something to share here at this table. Let's just bring Christ into the room. And that's the relationship that I was able to establish with Roger, especially when he got out, because it wasn't just correspondence. Then we could actually talk on the phone. And we get together once a week and spend hours and hours and hours sharing together. I think this was brought up by Marshall and Byron Alexander, when Marshall was saying that he has learned so much himself. He has grown himself. The both have grown together in this walk. And I can say this has been true between Roger and I too. I look forward to our conversations, and we share together in honest ways, deeply so, in the spiritual inquiry. I think that has made a big difference in Roger's development or evolvement over the past year. Right, Roger? That our relationship.
Yep, it definitely has grown.
That's been key. And then so a lot of dialogue between the two of us. With a practitioner, it would be less dialogue, but still that same essential thing to see them as God sees them.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is done in that metaphysical prayer work. The quality that I would add that Janine has, and I thought would make such a good fit for Roger, is that she's actually worked many years in the chaplaincy and the institutional work. So she has an understanding of where they're coming from and how to speak to them. I can't say enough about Janine's work with Roger. Has been very important to the whole unfoldment.
Well, the thing that kind of interesting to me, it's not just interesting, it's actually essential, is that there's a team. It's very, very difficult to do this work. We have some individuals right now that don't have an angel team. It's a bit more of a struggle. So if it just want you to consider, if you just consider being in some way involved in this work, because the need is just it's huge. And you can just kind of see here, Roger's such a great example. Roger, I would call you a pillar of society. Really,
Well,
seriously, you're one of those people that just quietly makes things work better for everybody. And it's such a great example of somebody who just doesn't necessarily think about themselves, but how can a kid get a bike and what joy that would bring to somebody else? I mean, to me, that's how I describe a pillar of society. So thank you. Let's just turn it over to the rest of you. Anybody have questions here that
the one thing, like my mom said to me back in my sentencing when I was being sentenced to prison, is she made in a court statement, said, look, Roger knows how to help people and how to treat children in the right way and try to be a father figure to them, try to be there for them when their own father doesn't want to be.
Mm. Mm. That's a ministry.
I have one more thing to add, and it's a big one that, Roger was hired by the owner of the housing complex for the parolees to be the manager and caretaker there, and the way that happened is the way that Roger conducted himself while he was a resident there, and the many things he offered up to do voluntarily, what made the impression upon the owner to ask him to be that
Well, and
person.
Dave, you might remember too that there was one day that was quite pivotal because Roger called me and told me that he was being kicked out and didn't
Yes.
go, and things were looking pretty bleak. And so we got busy praying about that. And what happened that day, Roger?
Well, I was told, go back, and I was like, well, I'll try and see what they say, but I don't know. And they came down to the laundromat where I was at and talked with me and says, you're more than welcome to come back. And I said, well, with no money right now, what am I going to do? And they said, don't worry about that. We'll find things for you to do. And now look at me. Now I got the manager's position, transportation, taking people places, making sure people get to the hospital, doctor's appointments, and everything else.
Mm.
So you talk about angels in place.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah. There you go. What do we say, Roger? What's the saying now? Finish this one for me. Roger has a way of finishing my sentences because I repeat a lot of things. I say, and that's how close our relationship has gotten. How does the greatest wrong
transformed
to the highest right to show us how? And when
to
you
show us
say,
how,
when you were right,
and
to show us how.
I've done.
And that's what you were referring to, David, I think, is a pillar of society. When a person takes a great wrong and transforms it into the highest right, he's showing us how it's done. That becomes the pillar of society right there. Yeah. And I think that Roger qualifies as that. He's done just exactly that.
Yeah.
Over that, so.
Well, it's amazing, to me, what a beacon of light you are. And that people see that. Actually they feel that.
Yeah.
And you're that. And I just think that's such a great example for others. And I'd like to stress too that one of the things that we need to be thinking more about is how do you become the pillar of society while you're incarcerated?
Right.
Rather than waiting till you walk out the door, be a pillar of society. Be the person that, brings a sense of calm and peace to whether it's, the COs that are working in the prison, the other inmates. I mean, that's something that I just really think that we need to add more to our work, I'd say.
Well, as far as like with Donald George having COVID and stuff twice, I brought him through both of them and made him well enough to come home.
Mm.
He was stubborn and didn't want to do it. I told him, no, knock off the dumb stuff. That's not going to happen. You're going to do what these damn doctors tell you to do. You're going to take the medication they tell you to do and get it done. And he just said, finally, he got tired of me hounding him about it. And he started saying, you know what? I've had enough. I'm just going to go ahead and start doing what those damn doctors are telling me to do. I'm going to do it. And sure enough, he pulled himself through it.
Yep.
And survived.
Mm.
Mm.
All right.
Marilyn, I see your hand is up there. have to unmute.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I wanted to bring us back towards the beginning, because there were like 3 of us in Reno or Northern Nevada that were on the Angel team from afar. And of course, that includes David Van Winkle, who was the ongoing chaplain. There was Greg Davis, who was the local guy from Las Vegas, and he was attending the Christian Science Church there. And Greg was the one that was on the ground, brought the backpack to Roger and greeted him at the parole. I don't know if it was in prison or at the prison or at the parole office.
At the probation office is
Oh,
exactly
probation.
where-
Yeah. And so it was Greg and Roger were the ones on the ground, and Greg made sure that Roger knew where the Christian Science Church was and made sure he got to the church. And also Greg helped Roger to be connected with the Hope for Prisoners organization there in Las Vegas, which is a program for when inmates are released, you know, for supporting them with education and so forth. So, and it was also members from Embrace Fully. We all met on Zoom for the first couple of months. So there was several of us from afar, and then there was Greg and Roger working together locally. And there was the Principal Foundation that was right there involved, providing a phone, right, Michelle?
Yeah.
And,
Matter of fact, we're talking on that phone right now.
Yeah,
yeah,
early on.
and the finances. And so, but it was David Van Winkle who insisted, which was absolutely wonderful, that a practitioner be involved right at the beginning and continually. So that happened. And anyway, I just wanted to kind of back up and show everybody here how that Angel team started. And then those of us from Reno and Carson City backed off, and David Van Winkle continued as this wonderful chaplain on the phone with hour-long and several hour-long conversations as they went through the Bible lesson. And then Greg, of course, was there locally to you know, help with encouraging Roger along. So I just wanted to give more of a picture of what I saw. The other thing that I saw, Roger, was when you first got out, I heard conversations of some of your struggles. You know, you had a lot of physical issues, and like it was mentioned, there was that prison culture, trying to break out of that and get back into society. And we saw that on the Angel team. And it just makes it all the more commendable, Roger, when we see how far you have come through the grace of your team, David, Greg, your Principal Foundation people, and your church participation. I mean, it's just, you have come a long, long ways, and it is really commendable. And it's just, you're like David Fowler said, you're a pillar of society now, and we really are grateful to be able to have you in our life.
You know, I heard something from you, David, that I thought was really impactful when you were talking about Roger. You said, "I'm not giving up on this guy." I thought, that's exactly the attitude that is needed in this work, because there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to be throwing some curveballs, and you just go, "Oh well, we're not being successful. This isn't working out," or you know, whatever the excuses are. But to just hang in there, sort of like the prodigal father, just hang in there.
And I think the biggest curveball that I've been thrown lately is the prison system knew about what my medical condition was and didn't want to deal with it. I mean, they did the MRIs, they did the CG scans, they did everything they could.
Yeah.
And I think they actually found out what it was. And at some point, so you know what? We're done with this. We're not going to deal with it. And they gave me the parole and got me out. And now since I've been out, going to doctors and everything and finding out for myself what the actual problem was that I think that the prison system actually knew about was that was diagnosed with out here was multiple sclerosis and bone marrow cancer, which now kind of at some point I kind of understand what the prison system said. You know what? We're not going to help you.
Mm.
Actually, those were just tickets. They were
Yeah.
tickets for you to get out of prison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, think of it that way.
It just had a name
Yeah.
on it that says this is what you're going to get in order to get out of prison. Okay, that's sort of like Monopoly, you know, the get out of prison free card.
Yeah. It really was.
And also
everyone-
meet God's ticket too.
Yeah. And every day I fight with it, you know, to try to overcome it. My hands are numb as ever, and my back hurts quite a bit. My balance is not very well, but
But God
I
is
keep-
good. But God is good.
yes, he is. And he is the one I believe and trust that is bringing me through it.
Mm.
And I hope that these medications and stuff that they put me on is going to pull me through it.
I think God's going to have something to do with it, Roger.
I think so.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we
I
speak a
see
lot
Greg
to that
Davis
when we
there.
read.
Is that
Go
Greg?
ahead, Greg. Yeah.
You have to unmute, Greg. And nice to have him here. Marilyn, you were just talking about him, and there he is. He just popped up.
Well, he said he was going to be here tonight.
He's still muted.
Greg, you're muted. You have to unmute that phone.
*6.
*6.
What is that, David? What is that? You have what kind of phone?
*6. Press star and then 6. Greg.
Yep. Yep. That'll work.
No, we can't hear you until you unmute.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yay, there he
There
is.
you go.
Well, it said unmute, so that's what I did. So, can you see me?
No, but we can hear you.
Okay, well, let's just stick with that. But I'd just like to add something, and thanks for
please.
everybody's comments, and Marilyn and everybody. And yeah, I've been with Roger from the beginning. You know, I met him at the parole board, and we got him all settled, and we got him going with the Hope for Prisoners. And that's a really good program, and it's an ongoing program too. If he ever needs resources, he can ask them for help. And I was there at his graduation, and I actually found out that it was founded by an ex-convict or whatever, and it was founded and got it going. And it's really something. The police really like it there, you know, to help the prisoners get back to the society. And it's just really good. They make it a big deal. You know, the mayor was there and other high people up, and chief of police, everybody. And so, you know, he's always got that. And, I introduced him to the local Christian Science church there, and he's really been accepted real well. And he has many friends there, and just everybody likes him there. So he comes pretty regular when he can. So, So I think, he's got a good group of people there to encourage him in the right way. So, with that and Hope for Prisoners, if he ever needs a place to live or something, they'll help him get established with his own place. But, he's got a good place now that he's able to pay for. But, further down the line, he may want to, get his own place or whatever. So that's kind of it. Roger's really tried hard, and everybody's encouraged him. So we'll just don't give up. Believe
Yeah.
in God. And everything will come through, even his seeming problems that he may have physically. Those can just disappear.
Yeah.
They just so.
Yep.
Yeah, we've become friends, and he's really a good guy, and I like him coming to church, and so he really needs to stay with that.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
good. I had a good meeting. I've been here since the beginning, and a lot of good things have been said. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, you're welcome. That's it.
You really are right there with Roger as one of the pillars.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
true. Along with David Van Winkle, he's really he
Yeah.
talks to him every week, so I think
Yeah.
he's the one that's really supporting his
Yeah.
thinking. So
And what I'm seeing here is this angel team keeps expanding.
yeah,
So it's not necessarily just Christian Scientists. It's big, very big.
well,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Hmm.
When we went to Hope for Prisoners, she liked what we were doing. She commended us, and I told her about the angel team, and she said, "Well, that's great, and it's good to have help when you get out of prison." So,
Yeah.
and this program, Hope for Prisoners, really has a lot to offer, and they're very friendly over there. So,
And if you remember right, Dave or Greg, they said most of the people who do get out wind up going back within the first 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Not good stats.
so this is a lot of help, to prisoners when they do get out. They just have to be shown the right way. I know it's still hard, and being accepted back into society because getting a job or apartment, it's hard to do. But that Hope for Prisoners, they can line you out.
And I believe that the hardest thing for me was to sit down and say, trust and let it be,
Yeah.
rather than try, okay, I don't need you guys, I'm just gonna do it on my own. I already seen where that brought me. And I realize now that, that without the church and without the help and everything to keep me going, I
Yeah,
really
you get a
didn't have
lot of
much.
you get a lot of positive support there. I know. So you just have to believe in God, and all things will be accomplished. That's my thing in life. I really believe in that. So.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Marilyn, I see your hand is up. You have to unmute.
Very inspiring progress. I was just going to share with you a Christian Science quote that progress is the law of God that demands of us only what we can certainly fulfill. And then another quote, step by step, since time began, we see the steady gain of man. And you're just doing great on the right path. We're all so proud of you. Please, we send our good wishes and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to say that I really think of this as a demonstration, and it came about in this. It kind of came together everything came together at the end. It was a long road. It took a lot of faith. It took some mentoring, tutoring, if you will, in understanding the Christian Science practice. And Roger and I speak at length with that as we read the lesson together. And we also speak to those physical issues that seem so, big, and we speak to that, and we will continue to do that. That's why I think it's important to have the practitioner is key to any angel team. So we can, we take on things like physical issues. That's in the works. But what was I going to say? William Faulkner, the author, said deviations are okay as long as you bring it all together in the end. And that's this story here. Roger brought it all together in the end. Einstein said the same thing. It took him a lifetime to work out his equation, and then he did at the end and said, when the solution is simple, God is answering. And I think what the credit goes, and Roger would be the first to say that, the credit all goes to his direct kind of father-son relationship with God.
Yeah, it really is.
Right? Okay. And one last thing that I wanted to add to his list of what he has achieved over this year is that it was in his heart, his priority was to reunite with his father. His father is 87. To reunite with his father, he said, that's my number one thing I want to do. And Roger is actively advocating and is actually putting it in motion for him to be able to take care of his father, move down close to him and take care of his father. That will be happening in the next couple of months.
Wow.
So that's another great achievement.
Yeah, within the next couple of months, I hope to have a place for him to be able to move down here to. And then after he gets down here, then I'm gonna find me another place and big enough for both of us, and then I'll move him in with me.
You're a good
And
son.
there you go. Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions for Roger?
Someone's waving.
Marlon, I saw you waving your hand. Is that you want to speak up? You got to unmute. If you press, what was it? Star six. Oh,
Star 6.
Star 6.
oh, I don't see him. I think he just hopped off. Well, we'll see if he calls back.
I think it was just a thumbs up. That's
Oh, there he is.
Star 6. Still muted. Yeah, still muted. Can be a little frustrating, I think.
Star looks
Yeah,
like
it can be. It can be.
It's
Yeah.
also an asterisk. You know, the asterisk gets down next to the 0. There you go.
Hello.
There you go.
There we go.
I am. I was speaking to one of my church members yesterday, and it is very. I want to just emphasize the way that you all love is so unique. I'm inclined to say, because every time I speak on it, it's someone says it's not us, it's God. So it's very scriptural. But it's I think it's even deeper than that. The love that you all present is soul based. It reaches to the very core of a person and allows them to connect with something greater
Then, well, yeah,
than they've ever experienced. Um, and it's rich. It's so rich that it makes that person want to extend that what they've been given to someone else.
Hmm.
And kind of that's what I hear from Roger. Um, you can't just contain it and keep it to yourself. You have to let somebody else experience it. And it's like art. You just embrace it and just are in awe in the beauty of it. And so I appreciate not just the work you do, because I don't think you consider it work. It's
no,
just how purposefully you go about doing His will, however tireless it.
Hmm.
Geez, thank you.
It's
Who
biblical.
was that just speaking? Who was that
Marlon
just speaking?
Walker. That was Marlon Walker.
Thank
He was
you.
released
Thank you.
July
Yes.
Thank you.
4th.
That was beautiful, Marlon.
Yes,
Where are you,
thank you.
Marlon?
So I appreciate y'all.
Is Marlon in San Francisco?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
I
Bless you.
want to add that it's actually biblical. Paul says in 2 Corinthians, and this is sort of my take on what he says, but it's God doesn't comfort us so that we can be comfortable,
Mhm.
so that we can comfort others.
Yep.
And that truly is of embrace fully.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but he takes our crooked path and makes them straight, and leads us out through through the darkness, so we can get out into the light and be better people.
Hmm.
No?
Now we're talking.
God's love flows to us to flow through us.
And
Mm.
I love the quote from the Marigold Hotel. The young man on there says, everything ends up in good in the end. If it's not good, it's not the end.
Right.
That's one of my favorite quotes these days.
That's great. Anyone else have anything for Roger?
I would like to add something to Embrace Fully as a whole in the making up of an angel team. What made this work was number one, Roger's who was talking about humility? That was Michelle. Roger had a humility.
Hmm.
And he there's a genuineness to Roger that I have come to know and benefit from as we have become quite close in our spiritual sharing.
Hmm.
There's a genuineness and a receptivity of the heart, and that was a key factor to this whole unfoldment. The second thing is would be the practitioner. I think the practitioner is very important, and Marilyn mentioned that, my insistence of having a practitioner. I think that's important to any angel team, to have a practitioner on board. And Embrace Fully does have a list of practitioners there, but and have that available to the returning citizen, in a continuing way. When we reach points where, for instance, when I call a practitioner and I can't see the forest from the tree, and they kind of give me some clarity in that way, and then I can go forward. And that's why I think a practitioner is important. The other thing would be Michelle and or whoever is representing Principal Foundation, but it takes a certain kind of person. Jeff was that, and Michelle took over from Jeff, and it was just great. We had a relationship with Michelle, and we would talk back and forth. She was part of the team, and that was very key. And then, of course, I would have to bring Greg in there too, having someone on the ground as well. And the last accomplishment I want to add is that Roger just 3 weeks ago sent off his application for Mother Church membership.
Yep, I sure did.
Yeah.
So that's, hope that will go through, and that'll be my next step.
Good job, Roger.
Awesome.
Okay, everybody, it's just been, it's been great sharing tonight. Very heartfelt. Great to see everybody